Intro music with an ancient mystical vibe begins and fades into the background. Hello and welcome to Shine. Africa Histories, the channel where we uncover the vibrant soul of a continent. Today we journey back in time, far beyond written records, to explore the misty dawn of West Africa. Who were the first people to call these lush forests and sprawling savannas home? Let's find out. Long before the great empires of Ghana, Mali, and Songhai rose to prominence, the land we now know as West Africa was already teeming with life and culture. We're talking about a period before the year 1000 AD, a time shrouded in oral tradition and archaeological whispers. This was the era of the region's foundational peoples, groups whose descendants continue to shape the continent today. So, who were these early inhabitants? Among the most significant were the Kru, the Senufo, and the Akan peoples. These weren't monolithic nations, but rather a mosaic of smaller, distinct communities, each with its own unique way of life, language, and spiritual beliefs. They were the pioneers, the first to truly master this diverse and challenging environment. Let's start with the archaeological evidence. The story of human presence in West Africa is incredibly ancient. Scientists have unearthed evidence of hunter-gatherers roaming through parts of western Central Africa as far back as 32,000 years ago. Imagine that. Tens of thousands of years of human history, developing and adapting. These early humans gradually migrated westward, reaching the coastal areas of West Africa by around 12,000 BC. What was their life like? They were masters of their environment. They forged tools from stone, harnessed the power of fire, and lived in a deep symbiotic relationship with the land. They knew the secrets of the forest, the rhythms of the rivers, and the patterns of the migrating herds. These weren't just survival skills. They were the building blocks of complex societies. They weren't just surviving. They were thriving, laying the groundwork for the agricultural revolution that would change everything. Now let's zoom in on some of these key groups. The Akan peoples, a name many of you might recognize, are a major ethnic group in modern-day Ghana and Ivory Coast. They belong to the Kwa language family, and their origins are a fascinating puzzle. One popular theory suggests their ancestors migrated from the north, possibly from the Sahel region, as the ancient Ghana Empire began to decline around the 11th century. However, other evidence points to an even earlier presence. Archaeological finds suggest that Akan-speaking peoples were settling in the forested heartlands of Ghana as early as 500 BCE. They weren't just scattered bands, they were organized. They established some of the earliest known states in the region, like the kingdom of Akyerekere. These early states were hubs of trade and culture, creating sophisticated pottery, developing complex social structures, and refining their agricultural techniques, particularly the cultivation of yams. While the Akan were establishing themselves in the forests, another remarkable group, the Kru, were mastering the coastline, primarily inhabiting the areas of modern-day Liberia and Ivory Coast. The Kru were exceptional seafarers. They were the guardians of the coast, skilled fishermen and canoe builders who understood the powerful Atlantic currents like no one else. Their lives were intrinsically tied to the ocean. It provided them with sustenance, served as their highway for trade between coastal villages, and shaped their cultural and spiritual worldview. The Kru peoples developed a reputation for their independence and resilience, qualities that would become legendary in later centuries when they fiercely resisted European attempts at enslavement. Their story is a powerful testament to a people's profound connection to the sea. Moving inland from the coast, into the savanna woodlands of present-day Ivory Coast, Mali, and Burkina Faso, we find the Senufo. The Senufo people are renowned for their incredible artistic traditions, particularly their intricate wood carvings, masks, and sculptures. But they were also master agriculturalists, credited with cultivating many of the crops that sustained the region. Unlike the centralized states of the Akan, Senufo society was traditionally organized into smaller, self-governing villages. This decentralized structure fostered a strong sense of community and a rich cultural life centered around agricultural cycles and spiritual rituals. Their origins are deeply embedded in oral lore, with stories passed down through generations that speak of migrations and founding ancestors. Their art wasn't just decorative, it was functional. playing a central role in their social and religious ceremonies, connecting the living to the spirit world. It's crucial to understand that these groups did not live in isolation. West Africa before 1000 AD was a dynamic and interconnected world. The Kru, Senufo, and Akan, along with many other groups, engaged in extensive trade networks. They exchanged goods like salt from the coast for gold and kola nuts from the forest, or pottery and iron tools from the savannah. But they traded more than just goods. They exchanged ideas, technologies, and cultural practices. A new farming technique developed by a Senufo farmer might eventually find its way to an Akan village. A spiritual belief held by the Kru could influence the cosmology of their inland neighbors. This constant interaction created a rich cultural tapestry, a melting pot where traditions blended, evolved, and gave rise to new forms of expression and social organization. It was this interconnectedness that laid the foundation for the larger, more complex empires that would later dominate the region. However, for all that we know, there are still so many mysteries. What triggered these ancient migrations? Was it climate change, like prolonged droughts that forced people to search for more fertile lands? Or was it conflict, with stronger groups displacing weaker ones? The truth is likely a combination of many factors, and the full story is still being pieced together by archaeologists and historians. Think about the countless unrecorded pacts and alliances formed between different communities, the cultural fusions that happened in bustling market towns, or the personal stories of individuals who journeyed across these vast landscapes. These are the details lost to time, the human dramas we can only imagine. What's truly fascinating is the idea of what else might be buried beneath the soil. Every artifact discovered, a piece of pottery, a forgotten tool, a ceremonial bead, is a clue, a fragment of a much larger story. Could these relics reveal lost connections between peoples? Do they hold maps to forgotten migrations or secrets to ancient beliefs? The legacy of these early inhabitants, the Kru, the Senufo, the Akan, and countless others, is profound. They were the original architects of West African society. Their knowledge of agriculture, their artistic expressions, their social structures, and their spiritual beliefs formed the very bedrock upon which later civilizations were built. The soul of West Africa, with all its diversity and resilience, was forged in these ancient fires. Their echoes are still felt today in the languages, traditions, and very DNA of millions. As we stand at the edge of this ancient dawn, we are left with more questions than answers. In the rich soils that once nurtured the Kru, Senufo, and Akan, what other voices, what other stories, are just waiting to be awakened? The quest to understand our origins is a journey without end. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the deep past. What are your thoughts? Do you have family stories or theories about your own ancestral origins in West Africa or elsewhere? Share them in the comments below. I love reading your perspectives. If you found this journey as fascinating as I did, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Shine Africa Histories for more stories from the heart of the continent. Until next time, stay curious.